what advice did you receive when you got married that was just utter foolishness? What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Black Love Smith YouTube channel. My name is Joe.
I'm P.
And this is where we do the work to inspire more ministry, marriage, and music into the world. As you guys may have figured out, we're married. We've been married for about 6 months at the time of this show airing. And I want to talk a little bit about something we don't talk about much, which is bad marital advice, right? A lot of newlyweds get advice when they're getting married and they get bad advice. But before we get into that, I want to ask you, do you feel like you need to qualify the people who actually give you advice, babe?
Ooh.
Because there's people that are like, don't give me advice if you're single. Yeah. On marriage, you don't get to talk on that. Or if you don't have children, don't give advice on children. That kind of a thing. Do you feel like that?
Well, man, initially, yes, I was one of those people who felt like that. You said qualifying the people. That was kind of tricky because, you look at some people and the way they live their lives and you can kind of be like, I wouldn't even take a recipe on, how to clean from you. But I initially was one of those people. It was like, how can you tell me something or advise me or give me counsel on something that you yourself aren't even living and you're not leading that type of lifestyle? Who are you? Who sent you? But I was reminded that, God can use anyone, anything at any time. So who am I to discredit or disqualify a messenger of God, And that goes back to the whole thing about not focusing on the exterior of somebody. God can use anybody, to get that message across. The thing is that you get the message, that you receive it. So now, no, I would pray on it.
Okay.
I would check the fruit of the spirit on it. That they ask God for that spiritual discernment. But I wouldn't just be so quick to be dismissive of whatever it is that the advice that they want to give.
I mean, I have to be honest. It's a pet peeve of mine to discredit people or disqualify people who are giving great sound advice, and it's because I was one of those people. And I think you're one of those people too, where it's like I didn't need to become a crackhead to give you advice on not using drugs. I didn't need to actually. I've seen it though, and I've seen it firsthand, and I have been able to witness it as someone who is in it, with someone who is really doing it, and be like, you know what? I have some things I'd like to say about that in my observations. And sometimes those third-party observations on people's mistakes are really helpful. It's something about like a wise man learns from the mistakes of others, right? And it's like I came into this social media realm as like the Sincerely Rain Raphael thing on Facebook, right? And it was like all of these viral videos about advice on relationships and Team No More Boyfriends, which we'll get into another day. And all of that. And I would always get, well, you really can't talk to me about relationships if you're single. Or you really can't talk to me about being married if you're single. And I don't think that that's true. And the funny thing is now that I'm married, I still say some of the things that I said when I was single because they're just true instead of being things that I think. And people will listen now because I'm married than they would listen when I was single, but I'm saying the same thing. The question is, what is the worst piece of marital advice you've received? That's that.
As you guys all know, I was brought up in the SDA organization. And one of the biggest things is they were saying, make sure you are equally yoked.
Okay, equally yoked.
With a lot of the members, especially ones that I was, surrounded by, or we crossed paths, I feel like their thing was kind of taken out of context. Because it was more so like, make sure you're equally yoked, meaning AKA, make sure, you get marry somebody in the SDA organization.
Oh, okay. I was going to say equally yoked is good advice.
You definitely want to be equally yoked with someone. but I believe that their context of it was completely wrong. Not knocking, the SDA organization, but for me in my life experience, yeah, that was probably amongst the worst.
But it's difficult, I would think, for people to get married to someone who doesn't share the same belief system, though. So, what part of that didn't? Oh, sorry, my earring fell. What part of that didn't match up for you?
Well,
all right, and you were answering why. Why do you think that not being in the same belief is okay? Because some people would consider that a real deal breaker.
It's kind of tricky, because just because someone, in my opinion, is in the same religious organization that you're in, doesn't mean you guys believe in the same thing. And I learned that the hard way. I learned that there are people that are sitting next to you in these institutions, religious institutions, that don't believe the same thing you believe. They don't. And I learned that the hard way. And again, you learn those things by what? Looking at the fruits that they bear.
You'll know them by their fruits.
Yes, you know them by their fruits.
So you're basically saying that it's evenly yoked is about having the same definitions or the same actions in faith, but not necessarily having the same religious.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I get that. So, in your experience, have you ever been with someone from the SDA? Have you ever really, tried it? Did you try their advice and then it went sour, or you just didn't agree with it from jump?
I tried it.
Okay.
I tried it.
What did you find the problem was?
That, which I just, previously stated, realized that, beliefs are different, almost like night and day. And I thought it was going to be easy. This is the one.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, babe, but I'm trying to figure out what's an example of that difference in faith, because, we define words one way, but what was something that you experienced? What did you experience with that situation where the faith and the belief were different? Because people would be sitting here and like, well, we all fall short, so what do you mean they had a different faith, or a different belief system from you? If you're SDA, you all believe in this, the Sabbath worship, you believe in the three angels message, you believe in the health message, so what's the problem? Your core beliefs are the same, so why isn't that working?
I used to be one of those people too, who believed that they believed.
Okay.
Really didn't believe in God.
Hold on. Because when you said that, that's a quote that me and you use in our marriage a lot, and I want to give that to the people. So what he just quoted was something that we discovered in our first year of marriage, where there's people who believe in God. There's two types of Christians: people who believe in God, and then people who believe they believe in God. And the people who believe they believe in God are not true believers. They really don't act on their faith. They act on their doctrine. They act on their religious organization's rules. And so that gives them their confidence with God. But true believers believe that God is real, and they stand on that. So that was what he was saying. I was one of those people who believed they believed. Okay, keep going, babe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so at that time, I'm now coming out of, I'm transitioning rather, from being one of those people who believe they believe to someone that actually believe. So here it is, I'm entertaining someone who still is in that believe they believe. So, things are different. The way we pray, the way we interpret the word was one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
Things are often taken out of context and, kind of regurgitated, sometimes even used as a weapon.
Yep.
So, that was like, as I'm transitioning, coming out of there, again, like, people are at different stages in their life, and that's something I don't judge about. Again, I was in one spot, God brought me to another spot in his time. So, I don't knock people for that, but, just I had, maybe it was my misconception thinking that this is going to be easier because we're in the same religious organization, we believe the same things, so this is going to, the Sabbath was one of the major ones for me. This is going to be easy. This is going to be pretty good, and it wasn't. It wasn't. It was actually one of the worst experiences I've had entertaining women.
Wow.
And I've, people always say, man, the women that I used to entertain, where do you find these women from? None of them were a part of the SDA organization, but they were like, where are you getting these? Like, how come you can't get you someone from the same SDA organization that you're from? I don't understand. And I thought it was kind of shallow of me to say, hey, my name is Pernell. I'm an SDA. What's your name? Or are you SDA? Oh no, you're not. Okay, it's nice knowing you. Like that's kind of shallow.
Yeah.
How do you ever get to really know someone if you're limiting from right there from the jump?
Right.
So I was like, I got to know people for themselves. If they weren't SDA, that was fine by me. However, I knew in my heart, in my spirit, if we're ever going to transcend into another level, the Sabbath was one thing, was one of my deal breakers. That's right. And from the beginning, I'm like, I don't think you have to be SDA. You gotta keep the Sabbath though, and even that, there's a difference in my opinion between Seventh-day Adventist and then Seventh Day.
Yeah, being Seventh Day.
Because I've met Seventh-day Baptist, Seventh-day Pentecostal. In my opinion, Adventist, that's one thing, but then to be a Seventh-day Adventist, you just tack on Seventh-day, again, Seventh-day Baptist, Seventh-day Pentecostal. So Seventh-day, in my opinion, is observing the true Sabbath.
Right, which is in the commandments. It's commandment number 4. We're not going to go into that today. You have to get to know yourself, your core self. And yes, your spiritual beliefs make up your core self to a certain degree. It has a strong foundation of who you are. But that core person is using their religious beliefs to live life. You know what I mean? That core person is adjusting by the moral code of their religious beliefs, right? But that core person is the person who gets married. And you have to find someone who is evenly yoked with that person. And then I think that's what the evenly yoked advice would be strong in, but people don't really give you that extra understanding. And I think it's because they don't understand it too.
I absolutely agree with that. And unfortunately, it saddens me to say this, but a lot of the advice that I used to get, the people that I used to want to role model after, a lot of them aren't married anymore.
Yeah, that's sad.
So, it's like, and then, but not without explanation, like, and they advised me, look, this is where I messed up.
Yeah.
And you realize a lot of them were with people because of someone else wanted them to, almost like an arranged marriage type of thing. Like they really didn't,
But you know what? Arranged marriages, they work out longer than our marriages do. These choice marriages, I'll call them, because of the one thing that is true about marriage is having that higher moral responsibility. And most arranged marriages, they get married for something other than love and lust and like. They get married because of their responsibility to their belief system and their faith. And it does last longer because God does forever, right?
But it's not, to me, just the fact of lasting longer. You say it works. How is it working? What are the two individuals doing? Like, so they have children after the children are gone out of the house, and it's just them two. What's going on through each of their minds.
Right.
Because it's why I've known some people that have been married for a long time, and they just know enough to, like, I'm not going to divorce you. You didn't cheat on me, you don't beat me, but then they really aren't happy. And, the question is, you guys even in love? I know you love each other, but are you in love? So, I don't think it's necessarily a matter of just that it's work. How is it working?
That's good. This one's going to get a little spicy, okay? Because I want to talk about the worst marital advice I've received as a woman. And it's Bible-based, which is most of the things we talk about. But someone told me that I'm never, ever, ever supposed to tell you no sexually. And it was based on, I have it here, 1 Corinthians 7:5. And it's about don't withhold sex from your partner unless agreed for a time. But they don't tell you about that unless agreed for a time part. They just basically say don't you dare withhold sex from your partner. And I think that makes sense in terms of don't be petty, don't be childish, get mad at your partner and then use sex as a weapon per se. But I think it's totally degrading and super demeaning to expect as a wife for me to be at your beck and call sexually. And I think that we were watching Black Love the other night, and one of the things we saw on there was like they had this
The 3 day
3 day rule, where it was like, okay, men every 3 days have this cycle of sexuality and they need to be emptied out every 3 days, or you have the higher risk of looking and wanting something else out in the world and all of that. And then there's this pressure on women to make him sexually exhausted before he goes out into the world to keep him from being this person. And I just feel like that was super demeaning for me to have to put myself in a position where don't get me wrong, I love having sex with my husband, but to put myself in the position where I'm obligated to have sex with you in order to keep you from cheating on me or keep you happy in this marriage. And I think that's the worst advice to give to a wife. And I think that what's really important about that 1 Corinthians 7:5 is they said, unless agreed upon for a time. And the unless agreed upon for a time means that there's communication in your marriage, there's an understanding in your marriage, there's a mutual respect in your marriage, and that when you work together, you minister together, you live together, you understand that I'm a person, you're a person, I understand you have needs, I understand that you want things, but there's that daily work together and teamwork and compromise that's so important. And I just found that was like a huge imposition on my choice, my desire, and the reality of life. So how do you feel about that? Because I know you waited, so we'll talk about that another day, but I know that you waited to have sex until we were married, after a really crazy incident that we'll talk about another time too. And do you feel like you can understand how men say, yo, when my wife is not into it or my wife tells me no, it makes me want to go out there?
All right, so I'll start off by saying I agree with you 100%.
Okay. Not because I'm your wife.
No. I just have a question though. So suppose this 3 day rule, you get to the 3rd day and stuff could have transpired. Maybe, that weren't issues that weren't resolved. So you get to the 3rd day now and you're just not in the mood. So that you don't want to, you're not, first of all. So I used to listen to podcasts. One thing that I asked God, because a lot of people out there asking God, bring me a husband, bring me a wife, and all of that. I asked God to make me into a husband. So the moment I prayed that prayer, he put me in front of, or exposed me to these different podcasts. There's a podcast that I actually follow. It's called Focus on the Family, where they talk about, marriage, children in marriage, how to come back from, broken marriages, infidelity. A great podcast. So I'm listening to these people talk, and one of the guys up there, a gentleman, was talking about, like, after time, it doesn't become like a popcorn. Like popping popcorn when you want to get intimate with your wife. It's like a conventional oven. You got to start that thing from the beginning of the day. Giving love, giving affection. Yeah. So by the time you get to the nighttime, it's hot and ready, and you can do it. So yeah. So again, you come to the 3rd day now. Y'all probably had issues prior and weren't resolved yet, and all of a sudden you're supposed to just give him sex because it's the 3rd day, and that was the rule. Yeah. I mean, there is a thing called consensual rape, and I believe that's something that can happen within a marriage too. If you know, it's no. I don't think that it's negated because you guys cross that threshold of holy matrimony. No, it's no. Yeah. And if you're not in the mood, I like I said, I think that would fall in the lines of consensual rape.
And it's a whole thing though. It's a whole thing like wifely duties, and it's your duty, and da. And I just feel like that to me caters to a boy.
Yes, absolutely.
Because like my husband is a man. Okay, that's a man. Okay, and so I treat him like that, and you can deal with a no or day, not right now.
The 3rd day
it's
comes
never
now.
No, it's a not right now.
I believe that's just a thing that's going to set people up for failure, and it sets individuals up via husband or wife, spouses up to place blame on their spouse. So the 3rd day comes now, she ain't give me none. So if I go out here and get some, that's your fault because you didn't give me none.
Do you think that your perspective is skewed though because you haven't had sexual partners before your marriage in that way? So you think it would be harder on somebody who's already out there though and already in that situation? So now that now that they're married, it's like, man, I could have been out here with Keisha, Tisha, Lisha, however the song goes. Rhonda, Deronda, right? And however that song goes. So it's like I could have been out here with all of these girls, but I'm here with you. I chose you. Like that's some of the things that people put in your head as a wife. Like you're lucky that he chose you. You're lucky because he could have had any woman out here. You could have had multiple women out here, and you're married. So it's like this big yay for you. But I mean, do you really feel like do you think that when men say I need it though, it's difficult for me. I'm on the road. I work a lot, and if I come home and my wife is not into it, it blows my high, and I don't want to be married anymore. Like, can you relate to them in any way? Can you understand where they're coming from?
I think I can understand. I think it is a degree of difficulty, more difficulty for them because the work wasn't done prior. Now remember, we're not supposed to know before marriage. We're not supposed to know what it feels like. We're not supposed to know what it tastes like before getting married. So you have, a lot of the world says, well, you have to go and get that stuff out of your system. You don't even know what you like. You got to go and experiment and all this stuff like that. You know, I almost fell victim to that. In my waiting, I almost fell victim to that because I started to realize that, man, the women that I'm entertaining have had multiple sex partners. So now I'm starting to get self-conscious, like, doubt, like, man, what if I'm not good? Like, she don't have the circus. What if I still don't even, what if I'm not good? And the Holy Spirit reminded me, and this is what I said again, believing that you believe and actually believing, because he said, what does the word say? God said he will withhold no good thing from us.
Right. And sex is good.
The holy institution of holy matrimony is up there with the institution of the Sabbath day. They're like neck and neck.
Right. Despite what people say about marriage not being it being a business and it being, a transaction and all of that. That's all stuff that people have told you about it, but that's not necessarily what it is. To God, marriage matters.
It's up there. So here it is now. I'm the man that finds the wife finds the good thing. So I'm going about this the way God intended and the way he would be pleased. So the Holy Spirit was like, so do you honestly think that if you asked God how to please your wife, that he's not going to tell you how? When he created that spouse? So I had a dumb moment, like, what the? Like, devil, you tried it. You tried it. But no, the Holy Spirit was right. Like, he created her. So why would I not think that he wouldn't be able to tell me how to please my wife? Yeah. And right just like that, I'm like, nah, I ain't doing that. Because I almost went out there and started experimenting. But just like that, it was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. But it is definitely a degree of difficulty, I would say, for them because they haven't done the work. So in the waiting, like, Devon Franklin, he has that book out called The Wait. And we watched a ton of his interviews with him and his wife, Megan.
Right, yeah. Love them.
And he everything he was saying, I have to agree with, because like you really get to know yourself when you deny the flesh of that thing. So I was rather it was revealed to me that the flesh desires three things: drink, food, and sex.
The flesh desires those three things.
Yes, almost above everything else. Okay. So being able to deny the flesh, your flesh, and this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is another thing that we're called to do, to deny the flesh, daily, pick up our cross and follow him. Being able to deny the flesh, you learn about yourself. So in my studies, I come to find that our souls are supposed to be in control of these flesh bodies. Right. So our souls are supposed to be the drivers, and these are the vehicles. These are the vessels. Yeah. But there are a lot of us, and I used to be one of them, so I'm not judging, who are out here whose vessels are driving them, and their souls are just on autopilot.
Yeah, listen, let me just jump in right there because I was one of those people. I remember talking about dating you and taking you seriously and being like, I have a child. I need, you know what I'm saying? I need sex. You know what I mean? It was like, that was the thing. And then in this whole journey of dating you and discovering myself and admitting to myself that a lot of the things that I thought made me the perfect girl or whatever, like I said, like not even perfect, and nobody's trying to be perfect, but I always say, like, I knew that I was supposed to be some drug dealer's wife.
Mm.
I was supposed to hold bags of coke for the rest of my life or something like that, because I had the mentality to like set up businesses. I had, you know,
Okay, Tasha.
you know what I'm saying? Like I was, people was comparing me to Cookie on Empire. Like it was that type of a thing, because I had that type of mentality. I had the mentality to get you out of jail, how to wash and money launder.
Mm-hmm.
I had all of those types of things, and it turned into our businesses, our many different businesses that we'll do and that we have. But in that time frame, I thought all of that trauma and all of that negativity was who I was, and I was proud of it, and I didn't want to lose my street credibility and being soft and romantic and somebody who loves flowers and candy and poetry and good guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said to myself, I'm going to ruin this guy who believes in God, who's saving himself. I just wanted to be your friend because I didn't want somebody else to ruin you, because it was a part of me that understood where you were coming from.
Mm-hmm.
All of that basically to say that we spend a lot of time telling ourselves lies about ourselves. I can't withhold. I can't abstain. I can't be celibate because I'm going to lose him if I do, or there's a whole lot of competition out here. We're realistic about, when you come from struggle, you're realistic about life, which I think is what makes my faith walk so powerful, because God is real for me. I don't have time to play these games of whether or not he exists or not. He is. So for those things, for me, it's like, I had those moments where it was like, I need to test drive the car. I've had good sexual experiences. You know what I'm saying? If he's not good and I'm married to that, oh no. And I had all of those thoughts in the beginning. And then you get real with yourself. You get outside of your body and you start really developing your spirit. And that spirit needs something totally different than all of that fake love. It's that fake love that I was almost getting high off of sex. Like, I need another hit. I need another hit of sex because I need to understand that you care about me. And you don't have the words. You don't express. You're not consistent with your efforts. So, but I do know that when we get into this bed together, I'm valued. So in this relationship, it's going to be sex to let me know we're good, instead of me just asking, are we good? How do you feel about me? How are we doing? All of that stuff. That's, something we can talk about another day. But I wanted to jump in right there because you can do it. And the way that God has it planned is to avoid all of the confusion. He never wants you to be anxious and confused. It's not what he gave you as a spirit. So I just wanted to jump in right there and say that, because we do tell ourselves that the body needs things. I have needs. And you do, but you don't have the needs that you think you have. That connection that you're seeking through sex is the spiritual need to connect. And you're using your body to do that spiritual thing. Without a spiritual connection, you're really just moving through, and it's empty. And you continuously try to make more of the relationship because there's nothing there. Hence those "what are we" questions. And I can't wait to get into teen no more boyfriends with these guys. But all of those things, that lack of self-awareness comes from. Self confidence comes from the lack of self-awareness. Is what I'm trying to say. So yes, keep going.
And so, even while you're talking, you stated earlier, a wise man can learn from others' experiences, other people's mistakes. Sex complicates things.
It does.
And this is something that I've learned from other people's experiences and their mistakes. It clouds judgment.
Yeah.
It alters and impairs judgment on someone, especially if it's good.
Yeah.
So, going back to, I believe that, again, yes, it is a higher degree of difficulty for those individuals who have not done that work. So, being able to deny your flesh of one of the things that it craves, you take the power. But I say, again, a lot of us are out here and our bodies are driving the souls.
Yeah.
Where it's supposed to be the other way around. The soul is supposed to be driving these vessels.
Yep.
So, for me, it was completely different, because I did the work to bring my vessel, my flesh, under subjection. So my soul's like, my soul is in control. Your flesh, you're not in control.
Yeah.
So when you do that, your level of thinking, you're able to see other things that most won't be able to see. That started from way back when I used to have the friends that I had at the time, and everybody was drinking.
Yeah.
I tried drinking, it wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just was something. I'm I'm a lightweight. I'm not a drinker. You know, I just do it sociably. You know, but it's just not for me. Yeah. So being of a sober mind, I saw things that others wouldn't see. They used to call my brother and I eagle eye. Because they know, when twins say it's time to go, it's time to go. That means something popped off. You know, you don't ask them questions right then and there. You wait until we get outside.
He's an identical twin.
You wait until we get outside into safety to ask all your questions. And that the reputation that we grew with our friends at the time, they just knew that this is the unspoken rule wherever we go. Because they knew and they trusted the fact that these guys don't drink. So they're ever vigilant and they're watching. This is what God calls us to be. He says, be vigilant and of a sober mind, because the devil is walking like a roaring lion, seeking whom he can devour. So we're supposed to be living life with a vigilant and a sober mind. So that definitely becomes one of the ones when you practice waiting, you deny your flesh of one of those things that it desperately craves.
And then you make clearer decisions.
Yeah, you make clearer decisions.
Women, don't put that pressure on yourself to be his everything sensually and sexually. Be honest. I would think that my advice to newlyweds would be to be honest and be transparent and be realistic, so that you have a mature and understanding and like considerate bond and relationship. Just because a lot of people say it and a lot of people give you that advice over and over doesn't mean that it's good advice. It just means that it's all they know, and that's important. A lot of people who give us advice, they're giving you advice because they were given that advice and it didn't hurt, so I guess it doesn't harm. But misinterpretation of good intent turns into a hellstorm. So just because a lot of people say a thing to you doesn't mean that it's for you, and doesn't make it good advice for you. And so that's what I have to say about my portion of it. Babe, what about yours for the evenly yoked situation?
This is why it's important to know your identity before you even entertain anybody.
Yep.
You have to get to know who you are.
And men need time by themselves.
Yes. Solitude with your creator is a requirement. It's not an option. It's a requirement. You have to know who you are. Now, in our situation, I didn't really figure out my identity until after. So all hope is not lost, but you have to be willing to put forth the effort and do the work to get that stuff done.
Yeah.
But if you can avoid that, it's better that you discover who you are before you entertain anyone. Because things like that you can avoid. People aren't doing that. They aren't doing that work. So they enter into these unions and they feel as though the spouse is responsible for their happiness.
Right.
What?
We're going to do a video on that. We're going to do a video. Matter of fact, if you guys want to hear a video on that, put that in the comments. Matter of fact, put in the comments whatever videos that you guys, I just saw somebody out the window. That's why my eyes are going to that. But if you guys ever want to have a certain subject matter that you want us to cover, go ahead and put that into the comments, and we will try to get you guys some content from our perspective. We know there's lots of people giving out content on happy marriages, but we'd be happy to give you our perspective on it. But that's one of the things we definitely gonna come back and talk about.
Yeah. So
okay, but I'm sorry. Finish up.
You can avoid that stuff when you discover your identity before you enter into that union, where people are blaming their spouses for the reason why they're not happy. I'm not gonna say don't, because honestly I believe you shouldn't. But my question is, how do you marry someone outside of an arranged marriage that you feel you can't talk to?
Oh, that's a different video. And we gotta go. We're gonna come back and do that video too. But love you guys very much.
Oh, man.
Thank you so much for hanging with us. Oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. Listen. If
you guys haven't already done so, please again like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you guys are kept up to speed for every new content that we post.
Yes. Right? I am Joe.
And I'm your brother P.
And we're so happy to have you. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
All right. God bless.
God bless you.
Next time on the Black Love Smiths.
Sorry, I'm late.